Very quickly, what's happening on both the benchmarks, 0.8% higher on the Nifty has been, of course, a good day of start, even as the Indian markets were counting down to the commentary from the Fed. You also have the Sensex holding on to very good gains in trade today. But the stock that we're discussing, of course, is Eicher Motor. That is up over 1% in trade today, reflecting also the up move we've seen as far as the rest of the mid-cap space is concerned. And we're being joined right here on Bloomberg UTV India live and exclusive. Siddhartha Lal, MD and CEO Eicher Motors, joining us on the phone line to give us his perspective on a lot of cues we're tracking. The company, of course, is announcing the launch of a new product. Siddhartha, appreciate very much joining us on Bloomberg TV India. I want to start by asking you to give us some more perspective on the Multix. You've announced the launch of that product in Jaipur. It's your entry, of course, into the four-wheeler space. What's the plan there? Why have you chosen to enter into this space? What is going to be the kind of revenue that you're anticipating from there? What's going to be the kind of volume growth you're anticipating from this space?
Yes, good morning. Talking to you from Jaipur. This is the Multix, which is from our joint venture Eicher Polaris. It's the first personal utility vehicle in India, and it's really catered to the independent businessman, and that's what we're targeting here. So it's a full ground-up new type of vehicle, and the idea of this vehicle really is to be able to cater to an independent businessman's family needs, personal needs, and he can generate power from it. So it's a totally new idea. We shall show you in more detail about the product, but that's really what it's all about right now.
Okay, how large is that space going to be for you, Siddhartha?
Yeah, so the size of the segment potentially, I mean, the number of independent businessmen in India is 60 million. So that's the household. So it affects 250 million people in some sense in India. So that's the universe of the size. And in particular, what we're doing is our capacity is going to be 5,000 per month, going up to potentially even 10,000 per month at our site in Jaipur right here.
Okay, let's shift focus away from that new product launch and talk about the rest of your business. I'm being joined also by my colleague Hiral, who has some questions for you.
Good morning, sir. To start off with, now we know that even Royal Enfield, in the Royal Enfield space, you are looking to launch 2 new platforms in the middleweight motorcycle segment. So what's the kind of timeline that you're looking at in this space, and what kind of revenue generation are you expecting out of this?
Yeah, so we focused on the middleweight segment on motorcycles, and we're going to have new products in 2016, 17, 18 out of the 2 new platforms that we've announced.
Okay.
We've been growing in the last 5 years at over 50% per year on the revenue side, and even faster on the operating margin side and profit side. So we don't give actual forward-looking revenue targets, but we expect to continue a strong growth momentum for Royal Enfield in India, and actually to address the middleweight market in the world.
You, of course, had a very good run in the domestic market for your products, especially Royal Enfield. Reports suggesting you could look at local manufacturing in Southeast Asia and Latin American markets. Any comments you can offer us on that?
Yeah, generally we're really happy with our manufacturing in Chennai, and our idea is to send as many vehicles, as many motorcycles from India as possible to external markets. Now, from a taxation perspective, sometimes it's necessary to be able to locally assemble. And if required to address certain market segments, we will locally assemble there. Having said that, that's not our basic intention. We would rather send as many from India as possible. So right now, there's no manufacturing on the horizon in the next year or so. But beyond that, if we need to do some assembly, certainly we'll do that in order to avail tax benefits.
So in continuation into this, now how are your exports panning out, and what kind of a growth are you looking at in the export market, and which markets and geographies are you looking to focus on for exports?
Yeah, our exports are still minuscule. They're only around 2 or 3% of our sales. Last year we sold 6,500 motorcycles in international markets on a total of over 300,000 motorcycles. So it's still a small part. And in fact, the way we look at exports is more in the 5 and 10-year horizon. So we're now building distribution products for these markets. And certainly in the long term, while we're already strong in, or let's say we have a base in USA, UK, Europe, these are heritage markets which really appreciate a classic motorcycle. We're actually looking at Latin America and Southeast Asia as big growth markets for us in the coming years.
I want to talk about the domestic market, Siddhartha. You have about a 95% market share in the 250cc to 800cc market. But competition has been snapping at your heels. You have both a Harley as well as a Triumph getting increasingly aggressive on this market. I know you ask this all the time, but just give us a sense of what kind of strategy you're looking at. How concerned you're possibly about the competition. What's the plan really in the domestic market for you?
Yeah, of course, we've been growing so rapidly over the last 5-6 years that we do expect other people to come into this segment. And what we are doing is, of course, we're doing things on many different fronts. A lot of work is being done on the distribution, on the brand, on rides, on events, and that helps us in actually growing the idea of leisure motorcycling in India, and Royal Enfield being the thought leader there. We've got a lot of new product lined up over the next 3, 4, 5 years, and that will help us in further expanding this market. We've got a scale, we've got a reach which is very different from anybody else, and we're going to further that and have enough competitive barriers in order to protect and grow this segment.
Additionally, sir, if you move on to the CV space, now how is the business looking there and what kind of market share gain are you expecting? And if you can additionally give us an update on the tractor sailing segment as well?
So after 3 years of slump, the commercial vehicle segment is finally now moving forward and growing at a reasonable pace.
Okay.
We look at market share growth over many years rather than over months, because these things even out over time. So in light and medium duty, over the last decade, we've actually grown from around 20%. Now we're at 32% and 33% even recently. So that's the kind of growth that we've seen in light and medium duty. In heavy duty, now we're finally starting to grow our market share once again with these excellent new products. Our Pro 6000 series, Pro 8000 series, they've come on board. Okay. They're doing really well. So now our market share is growing from 2-3 to now 4% plus. And that's where we're heading in commercial vehicles. The new products are really now driving modernization in the Indian trucking as the market is evolving.
Okay.
I just want to go back to Multix and talk about the fact that since you're launching it in Jaipur, would you largely be looking at demand coming in from tier 2 cities? And for your overall product portfolio, what kind of demand do you see from tier 2? And the reason I'm asking is, I do know, dealers who've spoken with us said that's about 5 to 6 months of a kind of waiting period in terms of your products. But any concern on the way the monsoons have panned out and therefore impact on possibly demand going forward?
Yeah, so no, Multix, it's a totally new segment and we're addressing it in a totally different way. It's a full new distribution as well. From day one, we'll have 30 dealers and that means they're going to be displaying and giving test rides of this personal utility vehicle from July onwards. We're going to be making deliveries from August onwards, so there's no waiting period yet. We haven't even started taking bookings for the Multix. We are in Rajasthan, in Tamil Nadu, in UP, and in a few other markets for the start of Multix. And then, of course, we will spread nationwide over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. So that's the rollout plan for Multix in the coming time.
Any impact out of, and I'm talking about the rest of your product portfolio, Siddhartha, any impact that you're seeing and the kind of demand you're seeing from tier 2 markets, any impact likely out of the way we've seen the headline on the monsoon panning out?
From our motorcycle business, there's no impact at all yet. Our order book is growing extremely rapidly and all markets, including tier 2 markets, are actually responding very well to our products and our distribution. So that's going really well. On the commercial vehicle side, actually, also we're not seeing any major impact, only because we're emerging from a 3-year slump. So there's a very small number of vehicles which are in new vehicles which are flying in long distance, long haulage segments. So we believe that despite some, let's say, monsoon issues, the commercial vehicle market is probably still going to grow in the next few months.
So in terms of the investment into the Rajasthan plant, what kind of an estimated investment are you looking at currently?
The overall investment that Eicher and Polaris have made jointly over the last 3 years in the plant, in the product, R&D, manufacturing, everything put together is in the order of 350 crores.
Okay. And additionally, sir, moving on to in terms of the volume growth, what's your estimate and guidance for FY16 and how are you seeing the two-wheeler industry also panning out?
On the Multix product, we have a capacity that we built up of 5,000 units per month.
Okay.
So that's what we expect to grow into over the next couple of years, with an added capacity of 5,000 additional. So that means 10,000 per month, which we can expand to at some notice.
Okay.
On the motorcycle side, we're growing from 30,000 at the start of this calendar year to 50,000 by the end of this calendar year per month.
Okay.
So that's the expansion on the motorcycle side. So we are expanding our capacities as we speak.
Would you look at exports for Multix anytime in the future? Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Right now, we're totally focused on the Indian market because we're still starting up. It's a new segment that we're trying to create, and there's an enormous potential in India. Of course, in the future, we're open to export, and we have discussed that. So at some point in the future, we will exercise that, but not immediately.
All right, Siddhartha, a pleasure as always chatting with you. Thank you so much for speaking to us first right here on Bloomberg TV India. That's the Eicher Motors story for you, both in terms of that new launch they've had today as well as further expansion plans. Stock is up over 1% in trade. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll discuss business outlook, and this time with Ad Labs Entertainment. Kapil Bagla, Director and CEO, will be joining us. Just stay tuned.